Yo, what's going on, you absolute beauties? Every single day, someone asks me how many calories they should be eating for their goal. Literally every single day. So I'm going to answer that question for you. I'm going to go over exactly how you can calculate your calories for your specific goal. I'm going to be going over how to calculate calories for fat loss, muscle gain, maintenance of your weight, and body recomposition. So let's get to it. All right, so the first step always is to find your maintenance calories. This is the amount of calories you would eat to not gain or lose any weight. You would just stay the same based on your daily activities and whatnot. So first thing we need to do is calculate that. And there's two steps you need to do. First, I recommend using an online calculator to get a rough estimate, put you in the ballpark, because online calculators aren't 100% accurate, but they will probably put you decently close. They're accurate for some people, they're inaccurate for others. So that's why I recommend using an online calculator, getting a rough estimate, and then doing a 2-week trial and an error period where you're seeing if you're gaining or losing weight based on what the calculator said. So I'm gonna pull up a screen recording here. This is the calculator I recommend. It's caloриecalculator.net. Pretty much, you just put in the information. I'll put in mine. I'm 5'10". Wish I was 6'2". Fuck's sakes, man. I am 203 now. Exercise 4 to 5 times a week. Yep. Calculate. So it says for me, my maintenance is 2,800, and that's actually pretty close for me. But what I would do is eat like 2,800 and for 2 weeks, see if I'm gaining or losing weight. If I didn't lose weight, then I don't need to change it, and that's a good estimate for my maintenance calories. If I'm losing weight or I'm gaining weight, then I'm gonna have to adjust it, maybe add some calories onto it if I'm losing or gaining weight, take away calories, whatever the case may be. So that's the first step in finding your maintenance calories. All right, so let's say you wanna lose fucking body fat, 'cause I mean, who doesn't wanna get shredded? First thing you're gonna wanna do is you have to eat less than your maintenance calories to lose fat. You have to be in a calorie deficit. So I have to eat less than, for my example, 2,800 calories if I wanna lose fat. But how much less? Well, I usually recommend a calorie deficit of roughly 300 to 500 calories less than your maintenance. More than 500, you're probably gonna get a bit hungry. Less than like 300, it's probably gonna be a bit too slow. So I usually find 300 to 500 calories less than your maintenance a good start. If you're really obese, you can probably go into a bigger deficit because you have a lot of energy stores, fat. But if you're leaner, maybe stick to 300 calories less. It really depends. If you notice you're extremely hungry, eating 500 calories less than your maintenance, maybe make sure the deficit isn't so big. It's completely up to you. Depends on how fast you want to lose fat, but you can't lose fat at this insane rate or you're probably gonna end up losing muscle, okay? If you're losing weight like 2 pounds a week, 3 pounds a week, and you're at a decent body fat, you're not obese, then probably some of that's muscle, and who the fuck wants that? We work hard for the gains, and we don't want them to just go when we're trying to diet down and lose only fat. So take it slow, eat 300 to 500 calories less than your maintenance. In my example, if I'm eating 500 calories less than 2,800, I would eat around 2,300 calories to lose fat. That's roughly 1 pound of fat loss a week. You don't need to overcomplicate it, guys. A 300 to 500 calorie deficit is probably fine for everybody. If you eat 500 calories less than your maintenance, you're roughly gonna lose 1 pound of fat a week. Roughly. It's a good estimate, so you can kind of plan out, how long it's gonna take, how many weeks it's gonna take roughly, and it might be pretty close, it's off by a bit, but it's fairly accurate. Now, let's say you just wanna focus on muscle building, you're not too worried about gaining fat, and you just wanna put all of your focus on gaining as much fucking mass as possible. That's what I like to hear. I hate when people just always wanna cut. Focus on gaining mass. All right, so first thing you wanna do is to optimize muscle growth, you want to be in a caloric surplus. I don't care what anyone says, you cannot argue that. A lot of these Greg Doucette dick suckers are just saying, oh, main gain. That's not as optimal for gaining muscle. I'm sorry, it's just not. Can you gain muscle at maintenance? Yes, for sure. As a beginner especially. As you get more advanced and training for more years, you're not gonna be able to put as much muscle on at maintenance, if any. I would not be able to put much muscle on at maintenance calories. That's just not optimal because I've been training for so many years that it's just, I need to be in a caloric surplus if I want to gain muscle, okay? As a beginner, you can probably stay at maintenance. If you don't want to gain any fat, that's fine. In a caloric surplus, you will inevitably gain some fat. This doesn't have to be a shit ton. You don't need to become an obese hippo to gain muscle. Greg Doucette thinks that people are getting insanely fat. You don't have to get insanely fat in a caloric surplus. You don't have to be in a 1,000 calorie surplus to gain muscle. That's just, no. If you have 200 to 300 calories more than your maintenance, you won't gain that much fat. You'll gain some, yes, and you will have to cut it off, yes, but you cutting off that little amount of fat isn't gonna result in this massive muscle loss that he always talks about on his channel. He thinks that if you bulk up and then cut down, then you're gonna lose so much muscle. No, not if you do it properly and don't gain much fat and you don't have much fat to cut. So you would have gained more muscle, you're gonna hold on more muscle, and then you can drop the body fat after if you want. It's probably not even that much where you have to drop so much. See what I mean? So I usually recommend adding on 200 to 300 calories to your maintenance if you want to focus all your attention on muscle building. Just know as you train for more years, you become more advanced, a caloric surplus becomes more of a requirement to gain a significant amount of muscle. If you're advanced trying to gain muscle at maintenance, you might gain some, but it's so slow, it's never gonna be noticeable, okay? So that just tells you that a caloric surplus, it's kind of needed when you're more advanced. It's just, you can't avoid it. You have to gain some fat if you're trying to gain a good amount of muscle. It's, you know, it's kind of a sacrifice. How many calories should you eat if you want to gain muscle and lose fat at the exact same time? So this is what I would call body recomposition. And it's only really applicable to certain people. We've got obese people, detrained people, beginners especially, and people that are on steroids. Of course, they can pretty much fly. If you're not in one of those 4 categories, then the chances of you being able to build muscle in a calorie deficit or build muscle and lose fat at the exact same time are very, very slim. Like me as a more advanced trainee, I definitely cannot build muscle in a calorie deficit, and so I'm not gonna lose fat and gain muscle at the exact same time. That's just not gonna happen. But if I was just starting out as a beginner, definitely will be able to do that. Is it as good as being in a caloric surplus? No, you won't gain as much muscle, but if you want to lose fat at the exact same time, then that's your best option. And what I recommend is you enter a small caloric deficit, not a big one. Okay, not like a massive one, no more than like 500. So probably the same. If you're in like a 300 to 500 calorie deficit as a beginner or any one of those 4 categories, you're probably going to be able to gain muscle at the exact same time as losing fat, as long as you're getting in lots of protein, focusing on progressive overload and everything else that comes with it. But yeah, you can definitely do that if you're in one of those 4 categories. If you're not, it's better just to focus on being in a caloric surplus to gain muscle or being in a caloric deficit to lose fat. Choose one option, not trying to do both at the exact same time. So pretty much, guys, if you know your maintenance calories, you can just take off calories if you want to lose fat, or add on some calories if you want to focus on muscle growth. It's not rocket science. If you want to lose fat, eat less than your maintenance calories by around 300, 500 calories. Okay, that's really simplified for you, and that's probably good to start. If you're trying to focus on muscle growth, add 200, 300 calories on top of your maintenance. Pretty simple. You can make it more complex than it needs to be. That's probably fine, and I hope you guys really take this and run with it. Not to make this video too long, just want to hit you with the facts right away. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, like the channel, sub. If you don't, fucking block me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.